Okay, so we're recording this on February 22nd. It's a little like a month and a week after the exhibitions took place. We're here with the leader of the Urien migration, Dr. Steelhammer. How you doing, bud?
We're leaving Mongolia one day at a time. We still have timeshares in Ulaanbaatar, but we are leaving slowly but surely. There is a migration allowing us past the Great Wall of China, small families one at a time, but we are leaving. It's beautiful.
How's everything,
Beautiful.
man?
But yes,
How are these Fight
well,
Cage
I
streets
mean,
treating you?
Placate streets are rough, man. If this is all there is, I don't know how much longer I can go. I
Mm,
mean, it's very challenging. I'm the type of player where if I'm playing 100% full bore until my fingers hurt, and it's more and more difficult to do that when I know that at the end of the day, all I get out of it is a little pretty S rank.
oh, the humble
Of
brag.
course, your boy got it. I ain't giving it back. Don't think you can take it from me because it ain't for sale. That S ain't for sale, baby. That's S is for superlative. Yeah, it's very hard to stay motivated when online is all you have. And I played online only for many, many years. Then I came offline, started playing in New York City, started going to tournaments, and realized, like, oh, wow, online is not that great. This is the ticket.
Right.
And then it got taken away. And now I have to go back to pretending it's Florida in 2011 and I'm playing Xbox Live on a controller and it's worth something. I know more now. I know that, offline results on cab are what truly matter. And it's challenging for me get super motivated the way that I was to beat someone in a first to 10 and 120 ping. It's challenging.
Right. How'd you feel about the Co-op Cup like replacement exhibition in general? Like, how'd you feel about the event?
I mean, as a Urien player, it was phenomenal because Japan doesn't produce the types of first to tens that I always wish that they had. I know that I think it was Game Newton. They had a series of, I guess they call it gotchi.
Mm-hmm.
Gotchi is 10. Gotchi is 10 or serious. Gotchi is 10.
No, I think it's serious. I
I
don't
think it
know
might
what
be
it is. I think it's series, right? It's
battles,
yeah.
serious battles, first to tens. They were being produced pretty regularly, but there wasn't a lot of Urien. There
Mm-hmm.
was like a Rikimaru Urien set. There was a Nito Urien set. There wasn't much RX. And to hear that they're doing a replacement for co-op, because obviously we were supposed to go to co-op and it got canceled, and then it got canceled again. There was this void because that was really all I had to look forward to.
Right.
To replace it with first to tens, all of these world-class players, who's going to win? Sugiyama or RX? Mimo versus RX? Like Boss versus Show? Like these are all incredible matchups. I guess Boss booked the card. It
Right.
was really impressive because a lot of first to tens you'll see in the United States, they're very lopsided.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you think they're evenly skilled, but they're actually one is substantially strong. And in Japan, that booking was dope, dude.
Yeah.
They were all barn burners.
Yeah. There was some
I
some.
love
Yeah, there was some
to
big.
get two
No, go ahead.
got two RX sets. We
Mm-hmm.
got
And two
we're
boss
going to be
ones
watching
too.
today. And then we got RX versus Sugiyama. So very informative. Both characters that I think Urien struggles with. So to have a real blueprint to be able to analyze, because you watch 15, 20 games of RX, you learn the game plan if you're looking for it.
Right. And so, how do you feel about like the Makoto Urien match, in a vacuum?
If you had asked me 2 years ago, I would say it's 6-4 Makoto, 100%. It's impossible. It's so hard. Once she gets in, you can't get her off. You're always getting command grab. Now, with a deeper understanding, with a real strategy. So the last year, Daisuke told me, we were fooling around. He goes, "You have no strategy."
Mm.
Really pissed
Mm-hmm.
me off. When someone says something and it hurts your feelings because it's true?
Mm.
That's what that moment was. He wasn't saying it to hurt my feelings. He was just like, you don't have strategy. Like, how are you going to beat me if you don't have strategy? And it drove me crazy because I didn't. The last year has been, previous year was execution, combos, game knowledge, trying to learn like mid-screen unblockables, corner combos, optimize. The last year was 100% based around strategy, matchup knowledge, what buttons beat what buttons, what spacings are effective, which Aegises I should use in which situations, what is the opponent attempting to do to me, and what can I do to remove that threat and then impose my own strongest tools.
Mm-hmm.
So like that taken to the same. So I made the 5-minute murder series where I looked at the various combos that are capable on each character. And in my own mind, I've been making sort of like a hour-long murder series of, how can I effectively win this matchup, regardless of combos? How do I beat the opponent in front of me? And Makoto is a character that was one of the first matchups that I attempted to learn, because Nika KO put out a video on his YouTube channel many, many years ago of a breakdown of RX versus Makoto. It was fascinating to watch Nika kind of explain what a matchup is in his mind and kind of get a game plan and then start using RX's game plan in my play and seeing results. Because for the first time, I didn't go into the match saying, like, I'm going to beat this guy. I went into the match thinking, like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it, and I trust it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I'm not going to deviate from it. This is the accepted strategy that a better Urien RX has used against better Makotos. Works for him. If I execute it, it should work for me, and it does. So it's been really helpful to and I've attempted to do that across the board, but it's more difficult to just sort of create matchups without extensive study. And there's not that many resources. I don't have, for instance, like a 1st to 10 Urien versus, let's see, there's not a great set of like Urien versus
maybe Yang,
like Sean, for instance. Like, it's a character. I don't know the Sean matchup the way that I would know the Ken matchup, because there's just not that. Granted, you don't need to know it because you can kind of just play the Ken matchup. But like some odd characters, like getting the Necro set of Sugiyama RX was enormously valuable, because outside of that set, and I have in my Discord, my Urien Discord, the Urien Illuminati, I have basically every match video of every top level Urien categorized by matchup. If you go to the Necro page, there's not too many videos. There's not too many Necros in the United States. So to get the Sugiyama set was really valuable. This Mimura set, extremely valuable, because we have old RX. We don't know RX with the new tricks. We don't have RX after talking to maybe RB a little bit about the matchup. 5, 6, 7 years later, the meta changes in each matchup. So it was extremely valuable to have that incredibly close and exciting first attempt to kind of look at, piece out the best parts, and then be able to break it down into like a little paragraph that I can keep in my mind. This is what we're going to do against this Makoto.
Right. It's you touched on a lot of good points there. Like, to put a bow on it, or like to neatly wrap everything. I have a follow-up, which is, do you think that your method of focusing on the execution, like so intensely, that that afforded you the ability now to easily transcribe these matchups into something that's practical, right? Because I feel like with Urien particularly, there's an execution barrier there, and you can know all of the strategy in the world, but if you can't make the elbow hurt as much as possible when you land it, then you're gonna lose. And that's just so. Do you think that that's something that learning Urien players how should they divide their time? Do you think it's 50-50, 75-25 either way, or is it a little bit more? It's like maybe dependent on the player.
I mean, it's a fascinating question. I know from experience that learning how to do tackle, headbutt on Q has netted me maybe 0.1 in terms of win percentage. I can do it. I could not do it last year. And when I play Qs, I beat them a lot more than I did last year, but it ain't because of TTTH. I will hit that once every 15, 20 games. I'll go for it, and I'll land it once every 4 times. I can do it. That's a technical skill that has not netted me any sort of significant increase in win percentage. Learning that Q struggles against Urien's stand medium punch, that it beats a lot of his moves clean, and it's an incredible mid-screen button that Q doesn't have a very clear answer for, has probably netted me 10% win rate. A lot easier to hit a stand medium punch than it is to do TTTH. It's not as interesting and exciting. People don't message me like, hey, what are the buttons I should use when I play against Q? My buddy plays Q and I struggle. They go, how do I do TTTH? 5 T's.
Right.
How do I put 7 T's in there? To answer your question, I started this game playing on pad. Urien was my secondary. My execution was very weak. I actually had a pad competition. I don't know if you remember, at my house, who had better pad execution. You had significantly better pad execution than me. I played pad for many, many years. So I was never known as someone who could play with execution. So I learned more spacing and footsies. And that was a good foundation, because I was able to win more significant at a higher rate, because I wasn't focusing on I need to hit this combo. The issue was I didn't have the strategy. So I focused on footsies first, learning the range of all my buttons. And I learned how to execute combos. I found that very interesting and exciting. And now I've added on strategy. So I would say neither. I would focus first on footsies and ground game and learning how the fundamentals of the game work. How do I jump attack? How do I stop jump attacks? How do I move? How do I hit my longest range button at the perfect spot? How do I survive bad situations? How do I escape rather than fight? How do I stay alive longer? And then from there, with a character like Urien or Yun or Oro, learn the specifics, get kind of obsessed with execution, get obsessed with optimization, and then strategy. That's what I've done, and it's worked quite well because I don't go into a matchup like, man, I got to hit my combos or I'm going to lose. Combos, when they come, and I make them hurt as much as I can. But I don't consider myself to be like the guy who needs to hit his combo. I'm very comfortable that I will be able to win on my ground game or on my strategy now. So I feel like if you put all your eggs in the execution basket, your execution is not going to be there every day, and these combos are hard. You put it mostly in the ground game and the fundamentals and then a little bit of strategy. I mean, Daisuke's Urien can do launcher, tackle, chop. It's a damn good Urien. Damn good Urien.
Yeah, that's interesting because you don't really hear people talk about execution in that way, even though it seems like I think it's intuitively fairly obvious, but it's never, these ideas aren't spoken about. And the one thing that's fascinating that you just basically illuminated for me is that we should look at execution as having like diminishing returns, at some point.
100%.
But for Urien and I think maybe Yun, that at that point it's difficult to pinpoint when things become unpractical, or maybe where you should maybe not focus on execution as much.
Spend your time somewhere. I do believe that there's a bare bones requirement for execution for a character like Yun or Urien, or maybe even Oro these days, where if you're playing Yun and you can't consistently 1, 2, 3 activate,
right,
you're not ready to really go into
the strategy,
deeper strategy and nuances and matchups. You need to focus. I think it starts with your hands, and then it goes to your head, and then it ends in your heart. But that it has to start in your hands with a character like Ken. Like Ken, if you can't do low, not even hit confirm, if you can't do low forward super 25 times in a row, you're not really ready to learn the subtleties of the Ken Oro matchup.
A short super, which is something that people struggle with kind of classically with Ken.
But at the same time, you can go down the rabbit hole. What is it? The Alice in the Wonderland or Alice in Wonderland, which is a rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole.
I know a lot of people who've gone completely all the way with execution, thinking that this is going to be the secret. It's not. But for Urien, you absolutely need to learn how to do the mid-screen unblockable on Shotos, the standard charge partition mid-screen unblockable. You need to learn how to do the standard corner combos: launcher, tackle, headbutt, launcher, light kick, tackle, jab, fireball, light kick, tackle, stand fierce. But you have to learn how to do those very, very basic situational combos that are going to net you good, solid damage and are not prohibitively difficult. They're not easy, but they're not insanely hard.
Right.
If you're not able to learn those, if I play your Urien and you hit me 3 times and I hit you once and our damage is the same, I'm going to win that. That's what I play a lot of Uriens, and a lot of them have good footsies and this and that, but they don't hurt me. Go, I hit you as much as you hit me, but when I hit you, you die. So like that is valuable on some level, but basically standard stuff. You watch this RX set we're going to watch, he doesn't do anything in there that someone who has been playing Urien for 3 years couldn't physically do. There's no crazy combo in there that, oh my God. He has great game knowledge and he uses the correct combos. None of the combos are so unbelievably hard. I watch RB Urien. Occasionally I go, that was insane.
Right.
RX doesn't have that type of execution heavy Urien, and you don't really need it.
And in the year 2021, it's never been easier to make those hard combos as accessible as possible thanks to your series,
Well, I appreciate it. Well, thanks to your channel, we got out there and we definitely got a lot of Uriens talking about the character and labbing the character, and it's been extremely valuable. Just today, Keychain and I were watching RB play against the Makoto, and he hit this ping pong into a reverse tackle that neither of us knew existed. We labbed it and we got it in our Rolodex now. And I wish I could remake the Makoto video because it's a really cool setup that keeps corner control. And it's the exciting thing about characters like Urien and Yun is there's always something new.
Yeah.
It really keeps me interested.
Yeah. Dan and I were talking. Danka and I were talking.
Sometimes new is not always better.
Yeah, it's I think it's that's the whole purpose of this little experiment that we're doing on the channel, is that hopefully people talk a little bit more about these things, and we were talking about the utility of a tier list, and I love tier lists because it gets people talking about the game in a way that maybe might not be as natural as if you were just worried about the practicality of game knowledge. I think theory is fun to talk about, and it's pretty useful. Just like that little exchange that you had with Keychain in the Urien Illuminati chat, about low parrying drill kicks.
You were part of that. That was fun. Exciting when you showed up.
Right, but it's useful, right? It's useful to hash that out because I don't think I'm right about that. I'm just giving you my perspective on that dive kick. It's hard for me.
That's all I know. I know Keychain's wrong. Even if he's right, I have to prove that he's wrong.
Right.
So my take on it was you should down parry necro drill kicks because it's 5 frames, or it's 10 frames to do a ground parry, and it's taken as a down parry as a ground.
Right.
And then it would be 5 as an anti-air, so it would be twice as difficult for you to parry high because the game's reading it as an anti-air, where it's almost like a glitch reading the down parry as a grounded parry. And this came from the Crystal Cube tool-assisted video of Urien versus Necro. So I took it as gospel, and then I asked you, I asked Yuki, I asked Keychain, I asked the whole Discord, I asked Exodus, and everybody had a different take on it.
And that's beautiful.
And there was no real truth to it. And then you go back and you watch RX in his set against Sugiyama, he's high parrying.
Mm-hmm.
You watch RB, and he's usually high parrying. Yeah. It's like maybe these guys don't know about this, or maybe they know something that I don't know, and my surface level understanding of, this is a safer move, it's got more frames, more active frames for parry. Maybe there's a reason, and that's why that conversation made it interesting, because I came into that conversation saying, look, I have the numbers. This is easier to down parry than it is to forward parry. And 5 different perspectives came in that I would have never thought of. Yeah. And I still down parry because I think it looks cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's just the important part, I think, to me is just honoring all the perspectives, not as being equally valuable necessarily, but just in the sense of bringing it to the table and like have a seat at the table and we'll talk about it. And and it might be 7 people, jumping one person's perspective on it, and that's how it might be sometimes. But more likely than not, we're just going to have a different opinion about things, but it's just useful to talk about it.
For sure. And I've said it a few times, and I really do mean it, even though I jokingly say that I don't when people ask. But I've learned a tremendous amount from Urien players that have been playing for 1/15 as long as I have. There's a setup I learned a while ago where you do launcher, tackle, Aegis, tackle in, dash, headbutt, reverse tackle into the mirror. Have you ever seen that setup? It's used on like Chun or Makoto. If you get a double bounce on the Aegis, you can do like a heavy headbutt over, and then dashing, you have to do 3 dashes into a stand light kick. But you can do a reverse tackle to carry her corpse back into the mirror. And it's very nifty and cool looking, but it also has some utility, and I saw RB do it. I didn't know how to do that. So I asked and I couldn't figure it out either. Mr. Combo Urien. And this is a setup that's kind of old that I've seen, but always thought it was kind of goofy. But the second RB did it, I go, there's actually something here, isn't there? I asked my chat, Urien by the name of Garflugus, I think is his name. I can't say his name correctly. He's a Yun player. He goes, this is how you do it. And he showed me, with the Lua script or the LUA script, his motions. I went to the training one. I did it on my first try.
Awesome.
And that wouldn't be, he's a wonderful player, but he's been playing for just a few years. I didn't seek him out. I asked the community. I got the answer that I wanted. I learned the technique, but it didn't come necessarily from where it should have come from some veteran, from a top Urien. It came from a young player who's really into tech, who knew how to do it. And just because I've been playing a long time doesn't mean that I know everything. And I've certainly learned a tremendous amount. Like the stand medium punch against Q, I learned that from an Ibuki player named Mr. 12. I didn't learn that from... I didn't learn that from RX
or Emphy or something.
From an Ibuki player. Like, Emphy, what a Urien. How about you, Stephanie?
All right, I think this is a good time to jump into the set.
You're going to see a lot of stand fierce. Yuki talked to me about how the mid-screen matchup is a lot of Urien crouch medium kick, Makoto crouch medium kick, and Urien stand fierce,
Mm-hmm.
and Makoto sweep. So stand fierce as Urien beats Makoto crouch medium kick, but Makoto crouch medium kick beats Urien crouch medium kick and Urien sweep.
Mm.
So there's this kind of back and forth of am I going to stand fierce or am I going to crouch medium kick? And Makoto has a clear answer. So you're going to see stand fierce a lot. You're also going to see a lot of jump back roundhouse. It's a great way to get away from Makoto's biggest threat, which is the Karaxa. It's a good way to cause her to dash into the jump roundhouse. And you can also empty jump into crouch medium kick, which will also stop the dash. So you're going to see a lot of mobility. It's required by Urien in order to survive this matchup, because if you're stuck, so that was supposed to be a back throw, which was an unfortunate mistake. You'll see a lot of knee drop escape. After he knee drop escapes, he always dash back or jumps back as a way to create more space. RX doesn't want to fight this matchup like this, because when she's in, she's in. He wants to keep her out, knock her down, get a tackle into Aegis, get an air-to-air to force the corner, and then you'll see him utilize Aegis in the corner through the sweet spot, which is something that is very, very strong against Makoto. So this is a situation where he's probably going to try to drop an Aegis. It gets stuffed because he canceled the crouch leg kick into jab Aegis. If he had done crouch jab into maybe fireball, it may have worked, but Makoto does beat out the startup frames with her crouch leg kick. Back to the standard. So the Karaxa, this is an important moment, the post-hayate situation. RX chose to do a headbutt. If Mimura had done Fukiyagi, it would have beaten the headbutt clean. You've talked to me a lot about the post-hayate mix-up. You've told me about backdash as a very strong option. Jump back is a strong option. The biggest threat after getting hit with a hayate against the Makoto is another Karaxa, because that's going to basically be nearly 100% stun. So RX took a risk there. The headbutt would have beaten the Karaxa. It could have possibly thrown, potentially launched, but likely thrown.
Right.
So you'll see each time that Hayate situation comes out, RX chooses a different option, because there's that real meta mind game going on. The post-Hayate, so he blocked there.
Right.
We'll see he chooses different escapes each time. He blocked probably because he has the stun bar to take the risk of the second Karaxa. He wants to maybe bait like a crouch short Hayate, and he can punish that on block with like a stand medium punch tackle. So maybe early in the match, he was more willing to stay grounded, and not take the risk of headbutt or back jump.
Yeah, you see. No, go ahead.
No, you just got the knee drop, which was a fortunate. There's a certain amount of fortune required to beat high level players, and he got some fortune there. Wasn't able to capitalize, but
yeah, you see Mimura using a lot of that jump back roundhouse that we're talking about.
It's super strong, and it's one of the things that American Makotos don't utilize all that well. I was saying before the podcast that I think you and Yuki are the most effective at. I called it in my stream. I called it the lag tackle. TTH is, it's basically like a fight K tackle. So these jump fierces and jump roundhouses are really powerful because it puts Urien in a 50-50. Similar to like a Yang, when he air to air you fall right there, and you have to deal with command grab low or high. And it's an awkward situation, as Urien doesn't likely have charge, where it's very hard for him to get a headbutt out because he's just been air to air. So he kind of has to take it, and that's where that Karaxa comes in. The stun off the jump fierce into the landed Karaxa, ooh, that really hurts, especially because you can juggle Urien with stand fierce, EX Hayate, medium punch Hayate in the corner, which is not a standard combo for Makoto versus all characters, but it does work on Urien. So being cornered and Karaxa as Urien is very, very powerful. It sucks to be Urien.
Is the pushback different on that jump fierce? Because it just feels like she lands way earlier than she's...
Yeah, she seems to just be right on top of you.
Yeah.
It's not fun. I feel oftentimes that I can mash throw and beat a lot of people who are trying to kind of overextend. That was a really nice
sick.
Let's see. You'll see the combo I was talking about. So it's going to be medium punch Hayate after for the Makoto players out there.
That was nice.
Jump low, yeah. Super safe too. So a crouch leg kick at that range, RX even on parry could not launcher it. And also when you parry crouch leg kick as a Urien, you can't immediately launch her because her hitbox actually recovers in a way where she's not vulnerable. You have to parry it and then wait and then launch her as the move recovers. It's very annoying, and I've lost many games because I get the parry and I immediately launch her. So be mindful of that. So a little bit fortune there, right?
Right.
Those are hard to quick rise. When you get hit with those random knee drops, oftentimes Urien can dash in and drop an Aegis because people aren't expecting to be hit, so they're not expecting to quick rise. Mimura is very strong and does quick rise. Post tackle into fierce Aegis sometimes is risky. Nice, that double parry is really important. And great meter use too. He had Aegis, but he knew that he could kill with just one EX headbutt. That double parry, the crouch leg kick into jab hayate, is a really important parry. If you get one, the second one's probably coming, and you'll see, as I've watched this set many times, Mimura stops doing the hayate and he starts doing fake hayate, and it really does mess with RX as the set continues. Those types of jumps are what American Makotos don't do. That right there is a nightmare. That is a nightmare. And I'm so grateful that they don't know how to do it. And I hope that none of them learn it because it's really awful. Yuki and you use it, changes the whole matchup because Urien's trying to get off the ground. I can't get Karaksa. And Urien feels safe in the air because of his jump back roundhouse. But when you're preemptively doing a jump roundhouse, it'll beat me clean. I get that stun, and then I have to deal with the land and the 50-50. It's perfect strategy by Mimura.
Yeah, and even if you parry that roundhouse, it's not ideal for Urien. You know, he's not going to get a great punish from it.
No, absolutely not. So that stand medium kick by Mimura is also very, very hard for Urien to deal with. I don't particularly care for it. Oftentimes when I jump in, I have to try to parry it to get any sort of real punish. It's an underutilized move. So that, I guess, might have been, I don't know if it was an execution error by Mimura to get EX Hayate there, but
yeah,
I have been trying to rip super to try to beat every Urien did. So this is going to be a situation, this would be a reverse sweet spot, which is pretty strong on Makoto and Chun. You put the mirror behind them, and because of their wide hitboxes, they're more susceptible. They get stuck in it earlier. Other characters are able to kind of quickly jump out, or because she's so thick, sticks to her back, and it's a really nice 50-50. Mimura in this set, because of his incredible reaction speed, I swear he sees every 50-50 and blocks it with his eyes. It's really incredible. You'll see. So this is a 50-50 situation. Sweep gets you the most damage. So after a knockdown, fireball, fierce Aegis, a sweep, you could tackle into the mirror and create some really powerful situations where Mimura knows that and knows that if I take the forward fierce, which is the other mix-up, it's substantially less damage and I can survive it. So he defaults to down back to stop the highest damage option by Urien.
Yeah, and I mean, he's just gotten all the momentum now, right?
Like, yeah, and he's such a momentum-based player.
What's RX not doing? Is he, is there anything that, I don't know, maybe you see that he's not doing correctly, or is it just?
Can you imagine if I had the hubris to say what RX is not doing? I don't know what he's not doing because I know that the score against Dr. Steelhammer Mimura would be 3-0 right now. So I don't know what he did in the first game. Let's put it that way. I'd say the only takeaways, because I have watched this set probably 4 or 5 times, the only main takeaways were a couple execution errors, which comes with the territory of playing Urien, and a few moments where I felt like he went for optimizations when he didn't need to. You'll see there's a moment not too far in the future where he goes for a specific setup and he goes for a crouch medium kick instead of a stand light kick, which is slightly more damage, but as the result, loses the entire setup. So those were the two main things that stood out to me was, a few execution errors, which could be blamed on the sticks, blah, blah, blah. And maybe some attempts. Look, also, the main issue is Mimura is really damn good.
Right. Yeah, that tackle.
That beautiful sequence right there. RX had some success with that tackle. So one of the biggest issues for new Urien players is to find out. Urien's amazing because you can tackle and you can dash, and they work a lot. The issue is they stop working at some point. So I removed them from my game, and then I realized I need these. So as a Urien player, tackle and the dash are going to kill you with a wake-up headbutt too. They're going to kill you if you only use them, but if you forget about them, you can't win. You need them.
Right.
There's a certain amount of stupidity required in order to play this character, even at the highest level, because he just doesn't have as many tools, and he needs to take big risks. But Mimura read that tackle and was able to punish. Wasn't able to read the headbutt, and RX did the scrubby wake-up headbutt, was able to leave the corner, reverse the situation entirely. So one of the challenges of playing Urien is you can't just be super solid all the time because other characters like Chun and Ken can be super solid all the time better than you.
Right.
So you need to find a way to mix up the chaos, and that's why you'll see these crazy tackles or these, really risky wake-up headbutts. Right. they need to be done in order to try to stop the bleeding. And right now it's 4-1, and he is bleeding.
Right.
So,
And so
curious how.
I think, when people think of Makoto Urien as a matchup, these first, 5 games is what they envision. I like I said, I don't remember this set. Is there a moment where RX, kind of gets control of?
It's coming. It's coming.
All right, good.
Goes on a run. So the basic understanding of this matchup from Urien's perspective is 4 or 5-fold. Control the ground with crouch medium kick to stop the dashes. She has to dash. She's not a walker. She's a dasher. So you use the preemptive crouch medium kick to stop the dash. She's a dasher and she's a jumper, but you have a long jump roundhouse. If you jump back, you're able to catch a lot of those and build nice chunks of meter. Like all Urien matchups, the goal is to corner with Aegis. She's very susceptible to sweet spot Aegis. So she also does struggle with mid-screen unblockables, but against an opponent like Mimura, who's very proficient at parrying, you really need to do what's being done right here, which is known as a sweet spot Aegis. This is the most effective form of Urien pressure because no matter how good you are, so this would be a 50-50 Aegis or a sour spot Aegis, which is strong, but not as strong. Because if you notice, the first was the sweet spot right in front. RX got 4 mix-ups. In the sour spot, he got 1 mix-up. That 1 mix-up might turn into a bigger combo, but it only requires 1 choice, and Mimura wasn't able to choose correctly. So right here, RX has nearly enough meter. He's looking right there. He tried to throw again to get the meter. This is a sour spot 50-50. You can only go high or low 1 time. You have a few ways to get to high or low, but you only have 1 choice. Hopefully at some point he'll do another sweet spot and we can show the value where she's stuck behind that mirror and is required nice parry. So this is sort of an interesting thing that does change. This is the moment. Watch this. So he goes here for crouch medium kick and gets it, right? Later in the set, he goes for that same setup and goes for crouch medium kick again, but does it in the mid screen and drops the entire setup. So that was the main thing that stuck out to me. Is he landed it early, and I labbed that, and that is not consistent. That is not what we described as a stable setup. Crouch light kick or stand light kick instead of that crouch medium kick is very stable. And I immediately went to my Discord and was like, is this stable for you guys? Because I can't do it. And no one said it was stable. So RX knew it was doable, but he didn't really take into account that just because you did it that one time doesn't mean you should do it the second time. You kind of got lucky there. But
yeah, you don't push your luck with a character like Urien.
Yeah, but you'll see that the other main strategy is to utilize Headbutt, because Headbutt is airborne frame 1. It beats Karaxa. It'll go over the Karaxa, and then you can throw. And since that's her main way of getting damage, you're able to effectively utilize Headbutt and knee drop to escape, which gets punished later in the set. See right there? There's only 1 parry on the forward fierce. In the previous interaction, Mimura let 3 go, and RX parried all 3 into a punish. So Mimura altered his game plan. Nice ping pong. So that was an interesting ping pong to do 2 crouch medium kicks. It's something that I wouldn't have done, but Makoto struggles in ping pong because of her hitbox. So you really have to keep her fully grounded and tackle inward. It wasn't until this week that I found a way to tackle her back the other way. But I don't know if
is it because she's wide? Wait, what is it about the hitbox?
As you're launching her into the mirror, she oftentimes does not bounce off the mirror. So in traditional ping pongs, you end the ping pong with a launcher. The character gets sent up into the air, hits the Aegis. You can then backdash into medium sphere tackle. Makoto, when you launch her, she falls straight back down. She doesn't bounce off that Aegis. So he decided to extend the ping pong so the mirror fully dissipates. When he launches, the mirror is now gone.
Gotcha.
And he can then tackle in. So that's a character specific. Let's see if he gets a sweet spot. So he went nice. So that's the sweep. See how the sweep is much more damage? Mimura decided to try to stop the high. He gets hit with the tackle in. This is where RX starts dropping his TTHs. And it drives me crazy because if you watch old RX, he does a different combo. He does launch with light kick tackle, jab fireball, light kick tackle.
Right.
Yeah, so that one is slightly less damage, but I believe it's more stable.
Oh, yeah, a lot more consistent.
It's not like he always went. So TTH is more damage, so he was optimizing for damage there. But I think he does drop the next 4 of them.
Do you know? Do you know, off the top of your head, if the short tackle jab fireball short tackle B&B, does that get you more meter?
It does. It gets you slightly more meter.
Okay.
But it's at the sacrifice of
the damage. Right.
And you'll see, even at really high levels, that combo, which can be used. I mean, if you look at the character select screen, can you pause it real quick?
Yeah, I got you.
So that combo works on a lot of characters.
Yeah.
You'll see at the highest level. So Rue is one of the greatest Ryu players of all time. He became a Urien player maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. He will utilize that combo on characters like Urien. A lot of people don't even know that you can do launcher. In that case, it's medium kick tackle, jab, fireball, light kick tackle, chop. He'll utilize it in third round scenarios where he needs to get more meter. And the meter I'm talking about, it's 2 withstand medium punches of meter. Might be one withstand. So it's not like you get so much more meter. You get 1 or 2 withstand medium punches of meter at the expense of maybe 3 points of damage, 2 points of damage. So he's so optimized that he's doing it against characters where it's significantly more difficult to do against Urien than it would against a Chun or a Makoto or a Q or any of the
or Necro.
The level in Japan, oftentimes these players are thinking about, this is the correct choice. It is more difficult, but it is the correct choice. And I believe RX went for TTH because in his mind, I need damage. I don't need stability. And that's why he went for that dash under crouch medium kick. Because he's playing against the best Makoto in the world. He needs to take every single situation and push it to 11. He needs to optimize across the board. And the unfortunate reality of playing Urien is sometimes you need to take the more stable choice, even if it's at the expense of some meter or some damage. And I think RX is shot for the moon.
Right, because at least if you go for, you're going for damage, because if you're aiming for stability against Makoto, it seems like that's not a very it's almost a zero sum game.
Where really isn't an optimal choice in a few situations, because each player, if you watch like Ushi Urien against Makoto will do light kick tackle, medium sphere, roundhouse tackle, which is the most damage that you can do. It's also the least stable. RX is actually not picking the most difficult corner combo. He's picking the medium tier difficult combos. So the easiest would be light kick tackle, jab, fireball, light kick tackle, chop. The second easiest would be light kick tackle, jab, fireball, medium kick tackle, chop, which is 1 point of damage more. The third more difficult would be TTH with medium tackle, light kick tackle, medium headbutt. The next would be TTH with medium. The next would be what Ushi does. So Ushi does the medium fireball, roundhouse. So like he's not even picking the most difficult. He's just picking the level of difficulty that he feels he can hit every time.
Right.
So I mean, it's a choice, and there's no correct choice. I just would have hoped that after, and you'll see he drops more of them, that after another drop or two, he would have switched. That was something that did frustrate me. So right there, after blocked Hayate, you can oftentimes launcher that, but RX has chosen to do stand medium punch, which is a more stable punish.
Right.
As launcher is very, very tight there. This is a sweet spot. So he tackles in to beat that jump. If you go back just for 1 second, I know we watch it live, but this is a really cool moment that I stole from this, and it was like one of the main takeaways.
1 sec. Because it's not super easy to.
Okay, let's not go back. We'll just live in the moment.
All right, cool.
In the sweet spot, oftentimes one of the most effective strategies for all characters is to neutral jump. So you can see right there, Mimura neutral jumped in the sweet spot. It takes away a lot of the risk as Urien is trying to punish you on the ground with overhead punch, crash medium kick, and sweep. His last option in a lot of ways is to control the air unless he's dealing against a character like Chun-Li or Ibuki. They're notorious for jumping there because Chun can wall jump and Ibuki can do her super one. So Makoto, as a character that's not really known to have any threatening options from neutral jump, Urien is not thinking about controlling the air there. So Makoto is able to jump effectively. And what RX did to mitigate that was after dropping the sweet spot, he went for an immediate tackle in, which would have caught and did catch Mimura in the early airborne frames, which would have then landed an enormous combo. Mimura is so smart, he goes, I'm just going to jump and buffer parry.
Right.
It's something that players at your level do. Every time you leave the ground, you buffer parry. I don't believe that Mimura left the ground intending on parrying that tackle. Mimura intended on leaving that ground to leave the ground, but knew I might as well throw in a buffered parry because what's the worst that's going to happen? If nothing comes out, there's no loss.
Right.
And like when I played against Issei, at one point I did this incredible charge partition where I dashed under his yun and then EX headbutted the other way. It was a super sick EX headbutt that would have landed on 100% of people that I play on a regular basis. Issei double parried it and moved about his day. And there was no part of me that thought that Issei knew that I had the capability of doing this super sick dash under EX headbutt.
Right.
But I did. And he didn't care because he wasn't thinking about that. He left the ground and he buffered parry anyway, because why the hell not?
Always.
Always. And it's something that really stands out with you and Nika and Daisuke, where you're getting these ridiculous parries, and I'm thinking there's no possible way that he knew I was going to do that. So he drops another TTH.
Yeah,
This player would have switched.
Right, just go for jab. I mean, short, jab, fireball, short, probably, right? I mean,
I think so. You can see he's getting a little bit over aggressive, and in a situation like that, the score right now is he's on a run. He's feeling himself. He tried to get Memora out of there quick with a light. Now that was two chosen tackles that were of the wrong strength. Memora backdashed and baited both of them. So if RX had done medium tackle in either of those situations, he had the Aegis to turn it into a very easy kill situation. Memora backdashed both of them. You'll see as the set progresses just how close it goes. Those two tackles being light kick instead of medium kick radically change the situation. He now goes for an RKF 100% combo, which is something that RKF put together maybe like 7 years ago. It's one of the more challenging combos to do, just because it's really hard to figure out what button goes next. But RX recently, after the set, a few weeks after the set, put up a video of, it was almost like his 5-minute murder on Makoto, and he showcased the combos that he was using or had kept in mind for this set. That jump fierce is so strong. But you can dash, you can throw it. So oftentimes that dash in is unsafe. So if you get put in those 50-50s, mash throw if you just absolutely need to survive. But RX created a 5-minute murder of his own on Twitter, and the RKF 100%, let's see what he goes for.
Oh
that's now the third in a row. So it starts to really get old.
You get thrown?
This is a back throw. All characters outside of Urien, when they back throw a tackle into jab Aegis in the corner, will escape. Urien gets sent back into it and has to deal with it in the mirror match. But almost all characters, to my knowledge, get out of it clean. So anytime you get a tackle, parry, and they cancel into Aegis in the corner, back throw, you will escape the pressure entirely.
I think Chun-Li gets sucked in, but she gets hit by all the hits quickly, so you can't really follow up.
True.
But
that's true. Urien has to deal with the follow-up. So you have, as the defensive Urien, have to quick rise to try. You do it as the offensive Urien because you get thrown.
Right, so you can quick rise.
Rise in order to punish it, and you can do either stand medium punch or crouch jab into headbutt. Sometimes launcher. It's very RNG based. So now we have basically RX is up. RX is up a game.
5-4.
Just like that, we blinked and it looked like it was over, but similar to Makoto. Big momentum-based character. RX is feeling himself.
Yeah, and those two tackles, man, is what you said. Like, they make a big difference. If that was Steel Hammer, those would have been roundhouse tackles, and Memora would have been eating dicks.
And I would have missed the execution on the Aegis, and I would have lost anyway. At least I would have went out on my sword. The reason he's using light kick tackle is because light kick tackle on block is safer than medium kick tackle. So as you increase the strength of the tackle, the amount of punishability also increases because the game is saying you want more damage, you take more risk. So he's trying to perfectly space, and the punish on a block tackle as Makoto is crouch medium punch into hayate, which I believe works universally on all tackles. It might be more difficult to punish on a light kick tackle. Here's a sweet spot Aegis. One mix-up. He fights back. There's two mix-ups. Because of Makoto's wide hitbox, that crouch medium kick, which on against a Ken player at that Aegis spacing, Ken would have been hit by crouch medium kick and would not have been sucked into the Aegis. Makoto, because she is so wide, that crouch medium kick actually lowered her hitbox, and when you're lowered, you become fat. She's so fat that she then gets eaten by the Aegis. And that was something that I learned talking to my friend Juna, who had played in Japan against Caroline Urien, who's a very strong Urien. Juna is a Makoto player. Caroline is a Urien. That was an execution error that looked really cool. But Juna came back from Japan saying, this Urien, he's doing this super cheap sweet spot where he's just doing crouch medium kick over and over again, and I keep getting sucked into it. And I immediately went to the lab and said, thank you, Juna, for losing to Caroline Urien, because now I can beat the Makotos over here. And that's the beautiful thing about a character like Urien is you pick up these little tricks from all of my buddy Juna's got a good Urien, but he's a Makoto player. And he came to me with this great Makoto tech. So he parried the fireball and blocked low. That 50-50, like I've mentioned, is most powerful off sweep. So he stopped the fireball. Oftentimes you will see people then parry down as well, but Memora played it safer and did not go for that second parry. Rex is going for a lot of dash throws. The axe kick is quite valuable in this matchup because she really wants to get close to you. It moves your hitbox backwards, which allows you to get out of throw range and Karaxa range. So he's used it a few times. It's more effective against like Yun and Yang because they're rapidly neutral jumping.
Right.
And they will also beat the dive kick. So like if you get hit by a dive kick, oftentimes if it's not a great dive kick, Yun will jump again and dive kick again. So you can do axe kick, which will cover the Zeppo tension command grab as well as the next jump out.
Right.
He's found some utility in this matchup. Axe kick is kind of one of those moves that people don't oftentimes use correctly or use at all. It's very unsafe in certain matchups, like against Ken and Chun, and I believe maybe even Necro. It's very unsafe on block. Against Ken and Chun, I believe it's unsafe on hit.
Yeah.
They can super it on hit. So here it is again. He's attempted it again in an effort to try to stop maybe a jump there. It wasn't mainly for the command grab at that spacing, but it's the empty jump throw. Now look at his meter. He's got just enough meter for a charge partition tackle. So as a Urien player, what was really fascinating, now he gets CTH on the harder side too. That's the more difficult side in my opinion.
Agreed.
But, I think every Urien player agrees. It's really hard on that. But RX is a master of meter management, and Makoto as well. I mean, Mimura, nice parry tackle.
That was sick.
So this is going to be fierce Aegis, and then she's very susceptible with that wide hitbox. If she gets hit with crash medium kick there, it will push her fully back into the mirror. Other characters will be able to take that, and it will not fully push them out. So he's labbed that, and that was in his little 5-minute murder on Twitter. Nice, no punish there, but that was little opportunities. But a lot of Urien players don't respect the Aegis. There's actually a SoCal Urien player named Respect the Aegis, and I've always loved that name because they look at Aegis like Ganajin, where it's like, I've got it, I've got to use it. That's not how Aegis works. Aegis needs to be placed in effective ways in order to gain the most strength from it. And what RX is a master of, similar to a Ken player, there's a technique known as DED with Ken, where it appears you don't have meter, but by doing a move on block, you still will not have meter, but if that move hits, you will activate the perfect amount of super, and you will then get a free hit confirm. The idea with Urien is when I have 80 or 90% meter, there are certain moves that will get me to 100% meter on block. The most meter you can do is a launcher canceled into a tackle. That'll give you the biggest chunk of meter on block. A crouch leg kick into tackle will give you less meter. A stand medium punch into tackle will give you slightly more meter than that. So RX has been playing Urien for 20 years, and he knows exactly how much meter he has and what move he needs to do in order to get that Aegis. So oftentimes when he gets to right around the meter, see the meter he has right now, he's gotten it with the Stand Fierce. But at the 80 to 90% mark, he's looking to do block tackles into Aegis as a way to get the mirror out effectively. He's also utilizing a lot of 50-50 situations with Fireball into medium or Fierce Aegis. He's using Fierce Aegis. I use medium Aegis because Fierce Aegis is punishable by super. So if you put Makoto in a Fireball medium Aegis mid-screen and she activates super, she will hit you, but the mirror will trade with the super, and you'll be relatively safe. He's choosing the higher risk option, pushing for the corner more by doing Fierce Aegis there. Super will beat you clean, and I've lost many games because of that, and I've switched to medium Aegis as a result. The Fierce Aegis, if you do land the forward Fierce or the sweep, the damage is bigger. If you land the forward Fierce, the combo pushes more towards the corner, and the medium Aegis is sort of like a safer in-between. He's been going for Fierce Aegis the entire set. That knee drop, which we saw land earlier in the game, fortune favors the bold, but he was not fortunate there, and Mimura got the read. You can see he's mixing up between roundhouse knee drop and light kick knee drop, which essentially look the same going up. And oftentimes Mimura is probably expecting the roundhouse knee drop escape, and that's why RX is choosing the light kick knee drop, because he's hoping to catch Mimura in an attempt to maybe back jump to catch the roundhouse. He then knee drops and creates a little bit of space. He then goes into a nice little highlight reel here off of the EX Aegis and then the standard mid-screen unblockable. When you're doing the standard mid-screen unblockable against Makoto, if you delay the roundhouse tackle into the mirror, it's more stable. Here's the sweet spot Aegis. He goes for sweep, which knocks down. He also has the opportunity to do a neutral throw here, and Makoto will bounce off of the neutral throw into the mirror and then be allowed to be tackled in. That's something he didn't utilize very much. He tackles in off of the Fireball Aegis, which is a relatively safe way to cover space. You get a tackle into Aegis, oftentimes the instinct is to dash. The dash is actually relatively unsafe because when you're dashing, you don't have any sort of active hitbox. If you're able to do a headbutt or a tackle, you're stronger because the headbutt goes over a lot of super. So like Chun-Li, for instance, you tackle in to Aegis. If you do fierce headbutt in, Chun-Li activates super, the headbutt will go over her super. If you dash in, that super will just hit you clean. So the tackle will oftentimes beat the startup frames of another move, and RX was utilizing the tackle there to cover space rather than the dash. These little optimizations, there's nothing in Third Strike that's truly safe, but there are ways to make it safer. And tackling in after a tackle Aegis is safer than a dash in.
Right, because at least you have a hitbox on the side of your dash,
That's
right?
it covers the same basic amount of space, and
And it beats more things.
it's more things and pushes the corner, and it builds meter. Memora just played as Memora does.
Yeah, that was like his first clean round in a while. I mean,
He's been trying to stop the bleeding. I mean, this is a fascinating set. Very important as a Urien player to the correct throw direction. Here's a sweet spot Aegis, crouch medium kick, sweep. See how sweep lost to crouch medium kick? That was something I talked about in the first game.
right, and medium.
That's the footsie mix-up right there. So if RX had stand fierced, it would have beaten that crouch medium kick. We're going to see this is going to be another sweet spot. He got to it through, see how he lost again with sweep. So Memora knows he wants to sweep me. If RX had chosen to stand fierce in either of those situations, it
like
likely would have won.
Yep.
Just like that.
Uh-oh.
But that's the mix. Nice. So that tackle might have looked crazy or random, but there was an Aegis behind it.
Right, exactly.
So EX Aegis is something that I've utilized a lot across most of the cast. Makoto is a character that using tackle into EX Aegis is very dangerous because Makoto players can just mash super because they're under the impression if it hits that you want to do crouch jab into tackle, which is a universal combo. It's tackle into EX Aegis, crouch jab into tackle. The issue is that combo is very, very tight. And if you drop it, Makoto's can just mash super, and her super one will actually beat your next move. If you miss that crouch jab, it's similar like Hugo's mashing Gigas Breaker in the middle of a Urien unblockable or ping pong. They're just mashing because the second you drop your combo, you're getting supered. And Makoto against EX Aegis has a very clear ability to wake up super or just mash super and beat you clean, and it's not fun. She doesn't have that when you do tackle into medium or tackle into fierce Aegis. It requires you to come in with an unsafe move in order to eat that super. So
yeah, she's also pretty unique in that she can dash under if she doesn't have meter, and that's a scary proposition.
There's a few characters. Yun can do shoulder under EX Aegis. Yang can do slashes under EX Aegis. Makoto can do EX Hayate or dash under EX Aegis. EX Aegis is interesting because when it first comes out, it will reflect fireballs, but as it sits there, it loses its ability to reflect fireballs. So I've lost games because I'm expecting the Aegis to protect me, but it's lost its ability to reflect, and I'll just sit there. I don't need to parry. It's coming back at you, dumbass. And then it hits. That's not fun. I learned that one the hard way. So here's a 50-50 situation. He again goes for sweep. Beautiful fireball.
Yeah.
So he read, he knew more similar to what we were talking about. Sweet spot, neutral jump is a powerful tool in sweet spot. RX goes, what's a powerful tool in sweet spot? Delayed medium punch fireball.
Right.
And it's something that, with Makoto's easy to juggle hitbox, huge amounts of damage off of an anti-air fireball. To land an anti-air fireball against a player of Memora's caliber, incredibly difficult. You need to have a very high level read in order to pull that off. Because these people, like I've mentioned, they're buffering parries. Nice. Parrying the launcher. Let's see. So he delays the tackle. So he didn't delay the tackle in. Right there, it hit 3 times. If RX had slightly delayed that roundhouse tackle, it would have hit her lower in the mirror, and she would not have been carried up into 3 Aegis hits, which actually changed her juggle state, sending her further, requiring RX to do dash, fierce punch headbutt, dash, 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 stand light kick. He tried to do the roundhouse knee drop, which is also an effective saver, but not as effective as a charge partition launcher into roundhouse knee drop to escape the corner. He then goes for forward fierce in that 50-50 mix-up because Memora's been blocking low, but Memora knew, I've been blocking low, I'm blocking high this time because you know that I know that you know that I know. So that's that mix-up in that 50-50 scenario. Let's jump back. He gets lucky.
He gets that cross-up knee drop.
Oh, let's see what he goes for. T, H, he's got it back. Daddy's back. Oh, and that's the danger. Makoto, wake up super. I don't care if you're, day one or you've been playing for 20 years like Memora. It's still a threat. It's something that, oh, nice.
Oh,
There's always the risk. Wake up Super 1, wake up Super 2. I don't care. They're going to do it at some point in the
right.
long set. You got to be prepared for it. And, that's just the nature of the game. Sometimes the dumbest decision is the best decision. And, RX's wake up headbutts or RX's mid screen, full screen tackles might seem on paper to be risky. But when you're playing at this level, playing the safest possible way every single time might not work.
And now RX is up. He's up 8-6. And it.
Let's see. Here's the Hayate. Post-hayate, Karaxa is the most powerful tool. So if you notice, he did survive the interaction with 50% stun. If this was later in the game, maybe he would have chosen a back jump.
Mm-hmm.
He decided to stay on the ground, thinking that I have the health and stun to take the worst possible mix-up. Maybe he'll overextend with a crouch short Hayate, and I can actually punish. So that was just because he read the game situation. There's so many variables on screen. There's health, there's stun, there's timer, there's meter, there's corner positioning, there's mid-screen positioning. Everything. Where am I on the screen, and what are these variables telling me? You could pause at any moment, and you can take a total snapshot of the entire situation. He's up 8-6. He's been playing with a passive style. Maybe, no decision at this level is made in a vacuum. There's always the context of the surrounding environment. So he goes for his classic sweet spot. He tackles in, trying to beat a jump out. Memora eats both of the forward fierces. RX keeps the corner. Then decides to give away the corner in an effort to control space. Memora, nice parry. That stand light kick into Karaxa, he was hoping RX would parry that stand light kick, because off parry the Karaxa would have hit. I think, or maybe he missed the Karakusa. But later in the set, he does. What does he do? He does like stand fierce right into Karaxa.
Oh shit!
And it's a bait, hoping that you'll parry the stand fierce and then eat the Karaxa.
That's sick. I wonder if you could OS that.
I don't know, but I know that like at a certain level, there's these built-in expectations of your opponent. Where like, I expect you to be able to parry this.
Right.
That's why I'm hoping you parry this. I got the layer behind it. So we now have what? It's high game. I can't count circles. It's
7-8, I think, in RX's favor.
Okay, so just a few more.
Yeah, coming down to the wire.
It was a great set. It was super exciting to watch live. I learned a tremendous amount. It kind of reinforced what I had already learned from watching RX Urien.
Right.
And it added a couple more kind of nuances as I had kind of new perspective on the match from my own experience. But yeah, the moves on the ground, very similar to what he had been using in past games against Memora and other Makoto's crash medium kick, stand fierce, jump roundhouse, headbutt, abusing sweet spot. I mean, the game plan is pretty clearly articulated through his game. I took away the roundhouse knee drop and the light kick knee drop as a way to kind of confuse and disorient which one's coming. I also took away a lot of his axe kicks right there in an effort to beat Karaxa. I knew it was valuable after playing Issei. Issei explained to me that RX is a master of using that move. And we talked about it a little bit, and Issei explained how valuable it is at beating command grab and dive kick. And then watching this set, realizing that it's also useful at stopping Karaxa. And, Memora jumps as well, so it is kind of covering two bases at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, Memora, what's interesting in that round was that he was using RX's jumps against him the whole time. He's like reset 50-50, reset 50-50 the whole time. It's like and that's the main thing, right? You were talking about Urien's mobility as being important in this matchup particularly, and he was able to use it against him, and that round he happened to win.
Again, it's super important to get a sense of what your opponent's biggest strengths are in the matchup, and then oftentimes to do your best to use them against. Like in a situation where like Ken is cornered, his best move is Air EX Tatsu to escape. As Urien, you have the ability to sit in a certain spacing and punish it as it lands.
Right.
It's not easy to punish, but there are moments where you can reverse tackle or you're able to sweep on the other side. These moments are super valuable to get a sense of what your opponent wants to do and then stop it. At a really high level. And sometimes the best move is actually not the best move, because I knew you wanted to do the best move and I have the cover to the best move. Tackle Fierce Aegis, so that stand medium kick is another option he uses that would stop Memora coming in with a dash.
And it's kind of worth it, right, to spend the meter to stabilize the game state for a second.
With 2 bars. So that kind of defensive Aegis, oftentimes people utilize it in the first round. No, that's when you have 2 bars. When you
Okay.
know, if I don't get these Aegises out and get back to a neutral state, I cannot win. I have to sacrifice 1 in the hopes that maybe I get a little damage, but I really need to get back to the mid screen. And that tackling the Aegis, Fierce Aegis, is basically the most effective way to reset neutral as Urien. It's really only useful when you have another bar.
Right.
It's very effective when you're in the mid screen because it'll push the corner. And now I have the second Aegis. It's almost like this is the illusion. You think this is the Aegis, but this is just to set up the second Aegis.
Right. Because you still need Urien still needs to be dangerous, right? So it's
Exactly.
like there's no utility in doing that if you don't have another Aegis to back it up.
Now
Then they'll
suddenly,
just go
wow,
in. Yeah.
you know, I took 3% damage, and now I have the corner, and now I have 4% meter, and now you jump out. If you don't have, you know, he's got 2 Aegises. And oftentimes people, they forget that Aegis can be used in all these different ways. But if you're only using it in a defensive sense, if you're using it, wake up EX Aegis, fireball Aegis when you're in the corner, you're never really taking advantage of its real offensive use. But when you can use a defensive Aegis to set up an offensive Aegis, that's good meter management in the 3rd round.
Yeah, now it's just a 2 out of 3, right? And I was they're in pools now. That's it.
Love it. I love it. This is just like they're at
The
next
last-
level monthly.
Yeah, Jazzy last chance qualifier. This is it.
Let's see who gets into top 16. My big fear is that Issei is going to get a plane ticket out to Texas. It's
Yeah.
terrifying.
I can't wait. All right, so
Ooh, that's a back throw. So throw direction is something Dice Case drilled into my head. Getting a throw is great, but choosing the correct throw direction as you're in nice charge partition. Memori just jumps. A lot of these setups, they feel real, and then you realize they're actually able to jump in these moments. If you're not mitigating that jump, so RX could have done a forward medium punch to stop the jump. Memori had not utilized that jump out until this moment. He had stayed grounded and blocked low or blocked high, but he has the ability to jump. If RX hit forward medium punch, it might have knocked Memori back into the mirror, which then could have created a pretty nice 50-50. But situation now.
this is it.
Memori's got a bit of a streak here. These are very high momentum based characters.
Yeah, you could see it with these circles and the dashes, right?
Look at this set. It's like, I'm a body you. I'm a body you. We're going to go back and forth. I'm a body you.
We'll see.
You'll see that. Like, it's very easy to watch one guy play another guy 5 games and go, oh, this guy won 5-3. He's better than that guy.
Right, yeah.
Snapshot of the long game. You know, when you see a 1st to 10, I can't comfortably say that Memori is better than RX. So that's an unfortunate situation. Sometimes you only get one bit of the launcher on that parry. You have to be a little bit closer in. Now he gets the max damage. Now watch this. Crouch medium kick. Because he wanted to optimize.
If he did,
if he had that broke my heart. And I spent 35 minutes trying to figure out, man, what was this guy thinking? Is it real? It ain't real mid-screen.
Right. And then it affects it because now he had to spend the second meter.
The second meter.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's funny that you mentioned that because in my mind, I go, it didn't matter. He won the round. But let's see how this goes.
Right.
He's only got half a bar. And he basically threw that Aegis away. Moves like stand medium punch and stand medium kick are not that effective against Makoto because she can dash through them oftentimes. Typically stand medium.
Yeah, she sneaks.
He just goes right through it. So when you're trying to control her ability to dash, you have to choose grounded normals, like low normals, like crouch medium kick, crouch short, or crouch jab. Stand medium punch. Chop can work as sort of like a stop sign if you do it preemptively from a further range. But see, that stand medium kick, I disagree with it. I've had almost no success with it. I don't like it as a primary choice. That was very nice. So he did go for the more difficult combo, going for tackle into EXA. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff right there. The back throw. See, the back throw.
Why? Right.
Corner control. If it was Tominaga Makoto, yes, back throw all day. You don't want to. But against Mimura Makoto, nice. So EX, but that's the only EX headbutt you've seen in this entire set for a reason.
Right.
Makoto cannot be hit with EX headbutt unless she's airborne. So often other characters like Hugo can't even, from a certain range, Hugo can't even down back without eating the block.
Right.
Makoto is so small, EX headbutt will go right over her head. So in order to land that EX headbutt, he had a hard read on that jump out. It also was effective because if he was wrong, he escapes the corner.
Yeah. And it also makes Makoto's throw whiff. So
absolutely. Very, very hard to punch.
This is it. Final game.
Oh, it's a great game too. broke my heart, but it's a great game.
Spoiler alert.
I was rooting for Memora. Um, well, dash throw never hurt anybody, but if you only live off the dash throw, you're gonna get hurt a lot.
Yeah, you're gonna die
It
a
wasn't
lot.
until it came off. You were one of the prime reasons why I took dash throw out of my number one option, because offline you can see. So that's the tackle in. See,
Yeah.
if he had dashed in, Makoto would have survived. She would have been able to jump away. But the
Right.
tackle caught the early jump frames, hit the mirror. He jumped back fierce, knocked her back in.
Sick shit.
Think about tackling in. Nice throw. Let's see. Stand medium punch. So there is one frame as Makoto's waking up. All characters except for Chun-Li are required to block stand medium punch high, even if they are holding down back.
Right, like they wake up in a standing state.
Wake up in a standing state, and it's just one frame on their wake up, except for Chun-Li. So you'll see a lot of Uriens do a dash and a stand medium punch after a throw, knowing if I time this correctly, they must eat that stand medium punch, which is more meter return on block and on hit, and leads to bigger combos. And it's something that does require some precise timing, but once you get it, it's kind of in your bones.
Yeah, this is definitely RX's game to lose. You know, he has the meter, the life lead.
And you'll see this is sort of the end game scenario of a round. When you play in the end game, each section of the game has to be played differently. Early on, you're thinking about getting your meters. This is towards the end of the game where RX doesn't want to do anything super risky. He blocks that crash medium kick. I can't believe he blocked that. He's been doing sweep and forward fierce all day. He does a walk forward delayed crouch medium kick, and Memora stays on the ground and blocks
He
it.
sneaks in the dash. No.
Don't forget about the power of dash.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, dash throw, when you play only online, like we all do now, you start to get a kind of false sense of security about these dashes and these tackles. And, as a Makoto, oftentimes you'll hear, oh man, this guy's lag abusing. Dash throw offline works too. It just doesn't work as well because I can see it. It doesn't mean that it has no use.
Oh my god.
See, he fights through the sweet spot. He's not doing the stand fierce. A stand fierce there could have built the meter, eaten the crouch medium kick or sweep of Makoto, or stand roundhouse Makoto.
Yeah, at least just stopped from taking damage. He took 4 pokes in a row there.
So that's the danger. The danger of the sweet spot. It's kind of a trade-off. Oftentimes players don't know how to comfortably fight back in sweet spot, so it's very easy to just kind of abuse them with high lows or throws. But a player like Makoto, Memora Makoto, he's been there a million times. He knows what my options are. Each character has their own options. Ken is able to mash crouch short. Hugo is able to mash crouch jab. Urien's able to do crouch medium kick or sweep. Makoto's able to do crouch medium kick. Each character has their different ways to handle sweet spot. And with more and more Urien players coming online, more guys I'm showing the sweet spot because it was not really used in America all that much. Kazi, a great SoCal Urien, showed me it. And it's super effective. It's just got its limitations like anything in this game. There's no perfect setup. And in the final sequence, RX's best moment, you're behind a sweet spot as Makoto. I would take that every day. I'm going to win. He lost 4 straight interactions because Memora knew this is your best moment. And just because it's your best moment doesn't mean that I don't have options. These are my best options. And he hadn't used those options as, throughout the set. He saved that on some level. He didn't fight back that hard every single time.
Especially not with stand medium punch. The fuck was that?
Yeah.
It worked.
Worked.
Clean. You started rattling off, your takeaways from it, but just to kind of iron it out. Now that the set's over, what were your primary takeaways from that set?
Number one, you're playing against one of the most mobile characters in the game. Makoto is known for her speed, her deception, her ability to control large chunks of space in very short periods of time. Playing on some level, just out of face value, her game until you're able to get Aegis and implement your game. So you have to focus as Urien. Yes, I am a slow, lumbering, giant Greek god playing against this tiny little karate girl. How am I going to survive the early phases of this game, stopping her dashes, stopping her jumps, building my Aegis, forcing the corner, dropping my sweet spot, and abusing her thick body? And then, there are moments where she's going to do a bad medium kick that you can parry into launcher, or maybe she's going to do a crouch short into hayate that you can double parry into launcher. There's going to be moments where you can parry punish. There's going to be moments where she overextends. But the primary objective is survive early, stop her dashes, stop her jumps, get your meter, impose your game through a forward throw, charge partition, dash, crouch, light kick, tackle, stand medium punch tackle. Impose your game off of a jump roundhouse that's blocked that you can then throw. Impose your game off of a tackle into Aegis. Impose your game off of an air-to-air that pushes her towards the corner. Find a way to take her momentum, stop it, reverse it, have the Aegis locked, drop it perfectly, and then mix her up and never let her leave that corner. Once she's in that corner, she lives and she dies in that corner, because the second she gets out, we're back to playing her game.
Right.
It's almost like this mouse that you have to catch and cage and kill. And if it gets out of the cage, you're back to trying to catch this mouse. If you don't ever try to catch and contain this mouse, it's going to run all over you. It's going to grab you. It's going to jump. It's going to dash. Contain, control, and kill.
Yeah, I like that. Contain, control, kill. And, you know, it's one of the, what it sounds like, you know, from what you just described the matchup to be, Urien players need to feel comfortable with this fact that you're going to be in the air a lot more than you're going to be in the air against other characters. And the magic is being able to dodge those trip wires, right? Those interactions and get the most out of them.
Parry. I mean, RX is a map air parry, air-to-air parry, you know,
and
anti-air parry as he's jumping in.
And even when you get hit and it's reset and it's kind of a 50-50, you know, knowing your options, right?
I oftentimes throw her out of that dash. That dash, the animation, she cannot tech the throw if she's in the middle of that dash. Catch it and then be sure to choose your back throw so you can now put her in the corner. There's different ways to contain, you know, you don't always have to contain her off of some anti-air fireball tackle into the corner.
Right.
So I have a throw. Do I do the neutral throw? Do I do the forward throw? Or do I do the back throw? You do the back throw. And what back is wherever your corner is closest. You go to that corner. So forward throw is oftentimes useful. If you get a throw and you're, you know, 40% towards this side of the screen, don't back throw to the mid screen.
Right.
Throw to that corner. Know where you are. Each stage is slightly different in terms of length, but at some point you should start to understand, I'm nearer towards this corner. I should now throw towards that corner. And, you know, understand this is a very difficult matchup. Her number one threat is the Karaxa. You know, if you're able to take that away, playing against American Makotos, they live and die by the Karaxa. So if you take it away with a jump, it cannot throw you if you're jumping. There's, of course, the guard jump technique, which is something that you showed me a few years ago. It's a little bit more advanced, but the concept still applies. She cannot throw you if you are jumping. She cannot throw you if you are headbutting. If you're jumping and headbutting, you're much more difficult to Karaxa. The problem is when you're jumping and headbutting, if she's a smart Makoto, she's Fukiagiing and jumping at you and catching you out of the air. So there's different, you know, there's the, you give me A, I give you B. I give you B, you give me C. You give me C. That was what the set was in terms of the 50-50s, in terms of the mix-ups. They started here, and by the end, they were in a totally different world because each option I show you is like a magician. This is your card. No, this is my card. No, this is your card. No, this is my card. And it was over and over and over again until the deck was everywhere. And they were doing things at the end, waking up super, and they were fighting out of sweet spot with it, stand medium punch. That was not what game one was, because over those 18 games, I learned what you want to do. You learned what I want to do. It might not be what Makoto wants to do or what Urien wants to do, but Mora learned what RX wanted to do. RX learned what Mora wanted to do, and Mora was more effective at using RX's ideas against him, countering them better. And at the end of the day, it was a fantastic set. I found it to be maybe the most interesting of the night. As a Urien player, of course, I would think that. But it was also very intense, and I think you could look at any of these sets and get a real idea of what these players are attempting to do, and you can reverse engineer it. A lot of this game comes out of Japan at the highest levels, and it's our job to not try to reinvent the Makoto versus Urien matchup. It's clearly articulated right there in those 18 games what Makoto wants to do and what RX Urien wants to do. If you're not able to see it, ask a better Makoto or ask a better Urien or go to a Discord and talk about it. Try to build strategies. A strategy doesn't have to be a scroll of 100 pages. My Makoto strategy is crouch medium kick, stand fierce, jump back roundhouse, headbutt, sweet spot. I know my mid-screen unblockables. I know my corner combos, and I'm trusting that I will hit them, and I'm trusting that my game sense will survive through, whatever they get to me. I can adjust, I can alter. I know where my strengths are, I know where my weaknesses are, I know where I want to be, I know where I don't want to be. And that comes from the experience. But if I didn't have the bare bones RX game plan that I got from Nikki KO, I would never go into a Makoto match feeling confident, because I would be playing against you and your strategy when I'm just coming in trying to hit a tackle or a fireball or get a back throw. But when you come into a matchup with a clearly defined and articulated game plan that came from a Japanese god, it'll give you a big boost of confidence.
And there's one thing I want to pin down, particularly in the nitty gritty, because this is another common occurrence that it's something that Urians have to deal with, and it's that interaction, that air to air interaction. Because that's one of the cards that you're showing one another, they're gonna get the jab reset off of you, right? Like they're gonna anti-air you with jab, and then they're gonna dash in. So what are the primary cards in your deck at that moment? Like what cards are you showing? Like what's the best options?
I mean, that situation is kind of similar to the Post-hayate situation, where
Mm-hmm.
Makoto is now at a plus advantage. She has an advantage and she's right next to you.
Okay.
But when I think about a situation like that, think about what's her number one threat. It's Karaxa. That's the one that everybody. I want a launcher. You want a Karaxa. You're in a situation right now where the odds of you getting a Karaxa are very high because you're right next to me in a reset state or in a post-hayate state. My first thought is don't get Karaxa. Rex's thought was, I can take a Karaxa given the context of this match. My stun bar is 0, my health is 0. So by looking at the entirety of the situation, first thing I do is look at what is the biggest threat. It's Karaxa. So my first instinct would be avoid the Karaxa. And that can be done in a couple of ways. That can be done with a headbutt. That can be done with a backdash. That can be done with a jump out. That then opens you up to the crouch short, which will beat a lot of those options. It also opens you up to just the raw hayate, which will also beat a lot of those options. So then after this first interaction is played out, and you'll notice these interactions play out multiple times. Let's say you were playing your Makoto against my Urien, and I jumped out and you chased me with a hayate into another hayate, which juggles because I'm airborne in my backdash. I now have that data in my mind that Frankie likes to do hayate in this situation. So maybe in that moment, I would buffer high parry, thinking maybe he landed it once, so maybe he's going to land it again. I would buffer high parry, and you Karaxa me. So you wanted the Karaxa in the beginning. I knew you wanted the Karaxa in the beginning. So I escaped the Karaxa, and you punished it. Now I'm like, oh God, he hurt me with that other thing. He stopped that other thing. And now you get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I feel like, how Makoto is played at a high level. Everybody who plays Makoto in the US that I play regularly goes, I know what I want. I want to grab you. And I go, I know what you want. I'm not going to let you grab me. They miss the detail of, I'm pretty good at this game. I know what you want to do. Hit me with all the other things. So the last thing I'm thinking about is the Karaxa.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're really good at, and what like Makoto Mike's really good at, what Yuki Spencer's really good at. These really, really high-level Makotos understand that I know what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Urien, I want to hit you with a launcher, so you're not going to just wake up walking forward on your, So basically use your opponent's game knowledge against them, and don't hit them with your trump card right out of the gate. Beat me with every other move, so I forget about Karaxa and just give it to you because I'm sick of being killed by 1,000 paper cuts.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I love that. So as we've turned,
Giving Makoto.
what happened?
I hate that I'm giving Makoto's advice. Whatever.
Yeah. So as it's becoming a tradition to leave all of the players that we're trying to address with some fortune cookie level wisdom that you can espouse to them, that you think it's foundational. So what would that thing be? What would be your fortune cookie type advice to an up and coming player, Urien players particularly?
Urien players, all players. Block is the most powerful move in the game.
Preach. You want to expand on that?
It is OP.
They're not gonna want to hear that.
It's the only move.
That's not gonna get them
It's
Twitter
OP.
followers, bro.
I mean, what's the only move that beats KKZ? That's the most powerful move in the game because I got a block. Let me take a little bit of chip and punish you with that dash launcher, baby. Big dash launcher, and I think it's hard. It pushes you back really far. But block is the most powerful move in the game.
That's beautiful. All right, so we'll end it there. Thank you. That was awesome.